So it's my pleasure to be here to present on behalf of my co-investigators the results of the Horizon study. This is a multi-center international phase 2 trial exploring the role of Melflufen dexamethasone in the treatment of relapsed refractory myeloma, which is both resistant to pomalidomide and can also be resistant to daratumumab. So these were patients in whom they had relapsed refractory disease and they had to have had pomalidomide, it had to have failed them, or they had to have had daratumumab and failed them, or both. And as you can imagine in this study, because of the nature of those entry criteria, the majority of our patients were what we call triple class refractory, and unfortunately multiple prior therapies had failed them, so they were a very exquisitely vulnerable population. Melflufen was administered every 4 weeks by infusion, with dexamethasone given every week. And this particular drug is fascinating because it's what we call a peptidase-activated conjugated alkylator, which means that we deliver the chemotherapy very directly to the cancer cell because it's dependent on the activation of the moiety by the aminopeptidases, which are exquisitely overexpressed within the myeloma cell. So the idea is you minimize toxicity in normal tissue and maximize toxicity in the cancer cell itself. So with that sort of preclinical backdrop and our early phase studies being quite promising, we're very pleased to report at this meeting an interim analysis of over 120 patients with triple class refractory disease enriched for high risk, with almost 60% with high risk cytogenetics, and at the same time a large number of patients with what we call extra-medullary disease. Extra-medullary disease is a particularly challenging problem in the relapsed refractory setting, and we're seeing it more and more as patients live longer and receive more treatments, and it marks really bad biology. So with that, we're very pleased to see about a third of patients respond. Not only do about a third respond, we get a median progression-free survival of around 4 months, and the overall survival is actually really quite encouraging. It's approaching 10 months by median, but recognizing that's a moving target because the trial is very much in process. I think what's terribly important for patients is the side effect profile, and what we're seeing there is that we do see myelosuppression, but at the same time we don't see mucositis, alopecia, and we're not seeing high rates of serious infections, only about 7%, which in this population who are exquisitely vulnerable is a very good signal. And so overall we're encouraged by these early data, and the study's ongoing. Other studies are looking at Melflufen in the randomized setting. Moreover, we've got a combination trial, the so-called ANCHOR study, combining the drug with both daratumumab and bortezomib separately in 2 different arms. And we're reporting those results at this meeting, and remarkably, we're seeing very high responses, 100% in the bortezomib arm, and over 80% in the daratumumab arm. So, these are very, I think, promising data and very provocative.